What if the woman scrubbing floors in silence could cook better than the arrogant celebrity chef who humiliated her? That's exactly what happened on Claire Bennett's first day as a cleaner at Manhattan's most elite restaurant. When Ethan Walker, renowned for his explosive temper and flawless dishes, forced her to cook in front of the entire kitchen to embarrass her, no one expected what followed. In just 15 minutes, she transformed basic ingredients into a Michelin-worthy dish that left the room stunned and the internet on fire. But who was Claire really, and why was someone with hands that moved like a master chef working a mop instead of a knife? This is not just a story about food. It's about pride, pain, second chances, and a secret so buried, even the one who held it had tried to forget. As the fire of her past reignites and threatens to consume her all over again, one man must decide, will he expose her or protect her? Stay with us, because what starts as humiliation will lead to redemption, romance, and a truth powerful enough to change everything. If you can't even clean a simple floor properly, then what are you doing in my kitchen? Ethan Walker's voice thundered across the sleek, stainless steel workspace of his flagship restaurant in Manhattan. His fist slammed the counter, rattling the utensils nearby. The staff froze mid-motion. No one dared to look up. No one dared to speak. Because when Ethan lost control, silence was the only safe place. Claire Bennett tightened her grip on the mop, her knuckles turning white. Her shoulders remained hunched, eyes cast downward, not in shame, but in survival. She'd cleaned 1,000 floors before, but not this one. Not the polished, pretentious floor of Walker's. "I'll clean it again, sir," she murmured quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. But Ethan had already moved on, running his finger across the edge of the prep table. "This," he hissed. "This is what you call clean." Around them, the kitchen bustled in fearful activity. Flames flared, pans clanged, orders were shouted, but it all felt miles away to Claire. She was used to dirt, heat, even humiliation. But today stung differently, because she wasn't supposed to be here. Not like this. Then came the moment that changed everything. "Who cooked this garbage?" Ethan barked, holding up a half-cooked piece of fish like it was roadkill. A young cook, barely 22, stepped forward, trembling. "I did, chef. I'm sore, it's raw, in my kitchen." "You know what raw fish gets us a lawsuit." He flung the fillet into the trash with theatrical flair and turned toward Claire, who had paused briefly by the fish station. Just a second, just enough to see that the oil wasn't hot enough. "A mistake even a novice wouldn't make," you, Ethan snapped. "You looked at that pan like you knew something." "Think you're smarter than my chefs?" Claire froze. Every pair of eyes turned to her. The air grew thick with anticipation. She said nothing. "Speak," Ethan demanded, stepping closer. "No, sir. I was just passing by." "Oh no," he sneered. "You were analyzing, judging. Prove it." Claire blinked. "Excuse me. You heard me. Cook something. Right here, right now. Let's see if the cleaning lady can actually use a stove." The kitchen gasped. Someone, Logan Brooks, the sous chef, pulled out his phone and began recording quietly. Not to mock her, but because something about Claire felt off. Off in a way that demanded documentation. Claire glanced around. Eyes watched, not all cruel, some curious, most expectant. She sighed, set down her mop, and stepped toward the prep table. "What would you like me to make?" she asked calmly. "Surprise me," Ethan said, lips curling into a cruel smirk. "You've got 15 minutes. Impress me." Without another word, Claire washed her hands. Her movements were swift, clean, and practiced. Too practiced. She selected ingredients without hesitation: fresh shrimp, guajillo chilies, garlic, cilantro, tomatoes. Her hands moved with the precision of someone who had done this 1,000 times. Within minutes, the air filled with an intoxicating aroma, smoky, citrusy, bold. Cooks paused their prep to glance her way. Ethan's smirk faltered. At minute 14, Claire plated the dish shrimp in a rich, deep red guajillo sauce served over lemon-scented rice. The colors were vibrant, the balance flawless. Ethan approached the plate skeptically. He took a bite, silence, then another, and another. He chewed slowly, like his pride was fighting his palate. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" he asked stiffly. Claire wiped her hands. "At home," she replied evenly. "It's not bad," Ethan muttered, placing the fork down. "For a beginner." But everyone had seen his face. Everyone had seen the truth. Get back to work, he snapped, walking off. And clean up your mess. As Claire began washing the utensils, she noticed the eyes that lingered on her a little longer than before, some in awe, others in suspicion. But she didn't care. She had shown them just enough. Not too much. Never too much. Or so she thought. That evening, the video Logan had captured hit social media. Arrogant chef humiliated by cleaning lady with Michelin-level cooking. It exploded overnight. By the time the sun rose over the city, millions had watched it, including one woman in a quiet retirement home, Eleanor Walker. Ethan's mother adjusted her glasses and squinted at her phone screen. The woman in the video, she knew that face. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That's her." Meanwhile, Ethan was having a different kind of morning. "Logan," he roared, slamming open the office door. "Was it you? Did you film that circus show?" Logan didn't flinch. "Yes, chef, but I didn't expect it to go viral." "You're fired," Ethan barked. "Pack your knives and get out." In the background, Claire mopped the hallway near the restrooms, unaffected. She hadn't seen the video. She didn't need to. Fame was never her goal. Later that day, one of the waitresses, Sarah Blake, whispered, "Claire, everyone's talking about you." "I'm not interested in being talked about," Claire replied, still wiping down a sink. "I just want to work." But then Ethan appeared in the doorway. "Claire," he said, "my office. Now." In the privacy of the office, he stared at her like she was an unsolved riddle. "Do you know that video has over 5 million views?" "I don't use social media," she said flatly. "Right. And the dish you made yesterday? That's not beginner level. Who are you really, Claire?" "I'm someone who needs this job." "My mother called me this morning," Ethan continued. "Said she recognized you, but she doesn't remember from where." A flicker passed through Claire's expression, but she said nothing. "Look," Ethan said finally, "I don't know what game you're playing, but it's clear you can cook, so I want you in the kitchen, as a prep assistant, starting tomorrow." Claire raised an eyebrow. "Why?" "Because the world wants to see you, and because it's good for business." She understood immediately. This wasn't about talent. It was about image, damage control. "Fine," she said, rising to her feet. "But don't expect me to play your game." "I never expected anything from you," Ethan replied coolly. "Except maybe the truth." As Claire walked out, her posture straightened, her steps confident. A storm was coming, and she wasn't sure who'd survive it. To be continued. "We're so sorry to pause the story here, but trust us, what's coming next will take everything to another level." Question for you, dear viewer. Have you ever felt underestimated, only to prove everyone wrong? And do you believe second chances can lead to something even greater? Also, where in the world are you watching from? We'd love to know. Please drop a comment below, give this story a like, and don't forget to hit the heart if Claire's courage moved you today. Claire Bennett stepped into the kitchen the next morning, not with the mop in hand, but in a crisp white prep coat. The shift was subtle, but it buzzed like static in the air. Some staff exchanged nods of respect. Others just stared. Jake Miller, the head of the meat station, sneered under his breath. "So the internet makes chefs now?" Claire ignored him. She wasn't here for approval. She was here for control. And control, as she quickly proved, was her territory. She sliced vegetables with surgical precision, corrected temperatures when no one was looking. Even the sauces she stirred as a lowly prep cook had more balance than most full dishes leaving the pass. Ethan watched her from his glass-walled office. Every movement she made, every moment of silence intrigued him, but it also unnerved him. She was too good, too quiet, and she was hiding something. "Emily," he whispered to his pastry chef one afternoon. "What's your read on her?" Emily Carter didn't look up from her ganache. "She's no rookie, that's all I'll say." That night, Ethan made a call. "I want everything you can find on a Claire Bennett, formerly Claire Vega, possibly New York-based. There's something I'm missing." The following week, Ethan walked into the kitchen with a folder. Inside, printouts, articles, and photos. There she was, younger, vibrant in chef whites, posing in front of a restaurant in Manhattan. A name on the awning, Bennett's Fire, 3 Michelin stars, glowing reviews, appearances on TV. Then the article, "Tragedy in Manhattan Fire Consumes Celebrated Restaurant Husband Dead." Rumors of negligence, though she'd been cleared. And after that silence, she had vanished. Until now. That evening, Ethan called Claire into his office. He tossed the folder onto the desk. "You were a star. Why hide it?" Claire looked at the cover of an old magazine, her own face smiling back at her. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, without flinching, she answered, "Because stars burn out, and I've already had my fire." "Why my restaurant?" he asked almost bitterly. "Was it revenge?" She laughed once, low sharp. "You think too highly of yourself. I needed work. That's it." But Ethan wasn't convinced. There was something deeper, something unspoken, and that made him uneasy. A few days later, Ethan threw a private dinner event for 12 elite investors. The pressure was high. So was the reward. This dinner could double his brand's expansion funding. "You're cooking," he told Claire flatly. Her eyes narrowed. "Are you sure you trust me now?" "I trust your food," he said. "Not you." She accepted on one condition: full creative control. And she delivered. The dishes that night, complex, emotional, raw, left the room breathless. One investor stood up and said, "That was the best meal I've had in a decade." Ethan didn't smile. He looked at Claire like he was seeing a storm forming a force that couldn't be stopped. 2 days later, he stood in front of the full staff. "I'd like to officially introduce Claire Bennett as our new executive chef." The room exploded into murmurs. Jake dropped his knife. Emily smiled faintly. But one man standing in the shadows near the dry goods shelf was already reaching for his phone. Ryan Coleman had been with the restaurant for 6 years, passed over twice, now replaced by a woman who'd been mopping the floors just weeks ago. And he had questions, he made calls, dug through forums. He found what Ethan had already discovered, and then he called a journalist. 1 week after the announcement, Claire opened the kitchen door to find Sarah Blake, pale and breathless, holding up the morning newspaper. There it was. Front page. Chef of the Flames from Ashes of Manhattan to Walker's Kitchen. The article didn't just mention the fire, it dragged it through the coals. It included blurred photos of the burned-out restaurant, quotes from former employees, even a bitter cousin of her late husband, Mark, calling her a reckless woman who shouldn't be near a kitchen again. Social media turned on her within hours. Cancellations flooded in. Comment sections boiled with venom. The phrase "Chef of the Flames" trended for 2 days straight. That night, a customer stood up in the middle of dinner service and shouted, "I want to speak to the chef who let her husband die." "Something inside," Claire snapped. She walked to her station, unbuttoned her coat, folded it neatly, and laid it on the counter. Claire Ethan rushed after her. "Don't!" But she didn't stop. She didn't even look back. By morning, she was gone. Her apartment empty, her phone off, a note, nothing. Just a receipt left on the kitchen table, last month's rent paid in full. For the first time in his life, Ethan didn't go to work. He sat in his office and stared at the empty chair across from him, the place she always sat, always quietly correcting his chaos. Days passed, then a week, and suddenly Walker's restaurant didn't feel like his anymore. It felt hollow. He met his mother at Magnolia Hills. Eleanor looked at her son with quiet disappointment. "You exposed her again, Ethan. Maybe not with malice, but you let the world do what it does best, tear down what it doesn't understand." Ethan's hands clenched. "I didn't publish that story, but you let her be seen before she was ready." He sat back speechless. That night, Ethan opened the file again. Buried among the records, one line caught his eye. Birthplace, Asheville, North Carolina. She had once mentioned a bakery there, her grandmother's. He shut the folder, stood up, and whispered, "I know where she went." And then he booked a one-way flight. "We're so sorry to cut the story right here. But trust us, what happens next will surprise you more than anything before. Let us ask you this. Do you believe some wounds are just too deep to heal, or can the right person bring us back from the edge? And we're curious, what country are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you, and we hope you'll hit the like button and tap the heart if Claire's story moved you today." Asheville smelled like damp soil and pine needles. Ethan Walker stood in front of a small worn sign that read, "The Hearth Table." A modest eatery with no reservation list, no press photos, no glamour. Just 6 wooden tables, a chalkboard menu, and the comforting scent of bread baking somewhere deep inside. It had been 3 weeks since Claire vanished, and he'd followed the faintest thread, a memory of a story she once mumbled during a quiet prep shift. A bakery, her grandmother, Asheville. The woman behind the counter, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, greeted him without surprise. "Looking for someone?" Claire Bennett, Ethan said. The woman studied him. "She doesn't go by that name here. I just need to talk to her, to tell her something." She motioned to the back. "Try again tomorrow. She doesn't like being interrupted during prep." Ethan returned the next day, and the next. He sat alone, ordered whatever the kitchen offered, and each meal shook him: slow-roasted tomatoes with goat cheese and herbs, cornbread so soft it melted before it touched his tongue, a cinnamon bun that reminded him of childhood, of warmth, of grief and healing in one bite. On the fifth night, as he sat sipping coffee, the kitchen door opened. Claire stepped out, hair tied back, apron flour-dusted, eyes tired but calm. She froze when she saw him. Ethan stood but didn't move closer. "I didn't come to drag you back," he said. "I just came to say, I'm sorry for not protecting you, for making you visible before you were ready." Claire didn't answer at first. Then she exhaled and walked past him into the cool night air. He followed. They sat on an old bench beneath a string of garden lights. Silence stretched, but it wasn't empty. "I wasn't just running from the press," she said. "I was running from the part of me that still wanted to be seen." "I know," Ethan said. "That part scared me too." She turned. "Then why are you here? Because you didn't just change my kitchen. You changed me. You taught me that leading isn't yelling, that food isn't power, it's love. And that excellence means nothing if no one feels safe in its shadow." Claire looked down at her hands, calloused, strong. "I don't know if I'll ever want that life again." "What if it didn't have to be that life?" he asked gently. "What if it was something new, built from the ground up, with no critics, no headlines, no stars, just us, cooking honest food, in a place that feels like home?" She didn't respond. But the next morning, Ethan found a note slipped under his guest house door. "I'll teach you how to bake sourdough if you stop calling it that fancy bread." It began like that, slowly. She showed him how to knead, to let the dough rest, not force it. He taught her how to organize inventory, how to deal with suppliers and stubborn ovens. They planted herbs behind the restaurant, cooked in silence, laughed in whispers, and every day the fire inside her softened, not gone, but no longer wild. 1 month later, Claire stood in front of a new chalkboard sign that read, "Opening soon." The hearth table reinvented. Not a restaurant, not exactly. A teaching kitchen, a place for locals to gather, to learn to cook, to eat. No reservations, no investors, no reviews, just real food, real stories, and real healing. Gloria Vasquez, the nation's top food critic, showed up unannounced one rainy afternoon. Claire almost sent her away, but instead she offered her a bowl of squash soup in a worn stool by the stove. Gloria didn't take a photo, didn't pull out her notepad. She just ate, then smiled. Sometimes the best chefs are the ones who stop chasing stars. Weeks passed. The hearth table became a haven. College kids, retirees, single moms, and ex-chefs cooked side by side. Everyone brought something to the table, an ingredient, a memory, a wound, a hope. Claire and Ethan ran it together, quietly, fully, lovingly. And one spring morning, as they baked loaves for a Saturday class, Claire looked at him and asked, "Do you still miss Walkers?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I finally learned how to breathe here." She smiled. "Me too." They didn't need a kiss or a grand declaration, just flour on their faces, sunlight on the counter, and two hearts that had burned and survived. This wasn't redemption, it was resurrection. From ashes to warmth, from silence to music, from fire to light. Now it's your turn to reflect with us. Have you ever had to lose everything to truly find yourself again? And do you think people deserve second chances, even when the world says they shouldn't? We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you think of Claire and Ethan's story? If it touched your heart, comment no 3 below. If it didn't hit the mark, drop number 1. And if you thought it was just okay, write number 2. Also, what country are you watching from? Let us know. And if this story made you feel something real, please tap the heart and share it with someone who needs a little hope today.